Siesta, fika, volta. These are all terms that countries around the world hold sacred, terms for certain types of leisure time. The typical US coffee break pales in comparison. And when's the last time you took a really nice, long, leisurely coffee break anyway? What is the rest of the world doing that we've failed to accomplish here? What do you make of Americans' relationship to work?
It sucks, mostly. People seem to have a sort of one-upsmanship kind of mentality throughout most of America. And in this case, it's I can work harder than you, I can work more than you. And it seems that sort of defeats the purpose in a lot of ways. It's too much work and not enough actually getting to enjoy yourself.
I mean, one of the things that I always notice when I go back to Australia is that there's no necessary nexus between the idea that you work very long hours and burn yourself out and the idea that you do good work. So leisure time and socializing and going out and going to the beach and all of that is just part of being a well-rounded human being, and part of doing good work is being a well-rounded human being. That seems to be a message that doesn't quite resonate, at least in high-powered work environments here in the States.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think it's become a sort of environment where, in many ways, workers are treated sort of like productivity units. And you have to management wants to wring as much out of any individual person as they possibly can and doesn't really concern themselves with the long-term effects or even necessarily the quality of the work. And letting people take time off to recharge.
Yeah, we're pretty much the workaholics of the Western world in that regard. We work about 300 to 400 hours more annually than, for example, the Germans, the Dutch, the Norwegians, and so forth. These are kind of the slackers, if you will, but their productivity per hour is at least as great, if not higher than ours. And I would argue that their quality of life is higher, their health is better, their social connection, and so forth. So one of the ways to look at this is the amount of vacation time that we get. The average American vacation officially is a little over 2 weeks. The median isn't much over 1 week that people take, and about a quarter of Americans don't get any vacation time at all. Now contrast that with a minimum of 4 weeks in the European Union, and with most countries getting 5 or 6. And that's true in many other parts of the world as well. So I'm working on a campaign to try to win some vacation time for Americans.
Good. John Hrabe, much like Seth, you quit your 9-to-5 job to travel the world and go freelance. Does this resonate with you?
Absolutely. And, I think really the key is about using technology to our benefit so that we can be anywhere in the world and connect. We can be on this great HuffPost Live segment from Croatia or from the U.S. or from anywhere. But it's about using technology to our benefit, not being chained to that cell phone, not being chained to our BlackBerry or our iPhone to constantly be checking Twitter when we are on vacation. And so it's really also a question of whether or not we're actually enjoying that little bit of time we actually get.
What did you do?
It's an interesting comment you make there, John, because you say, at one hand, take advantage of the technology so we can get away, and at the same time, we have all this technology so we can always be connected everywhere we go. Is there, how do you strike the balance there? Obviously, you're in Croatia now, and I'm stuck in New York for a few days, but.
Right. I mean, I think it's really about that internal discipline that you set within yourself to be in control of your technology and use it to your advantage and not be chained to it. I think it's really an internal decision that you have to make, much like you've made about the internal decision to take the jump and leave the 9-to-5. And, I know from my perspective, I think it's a great decision, and I wish more people would realize the liberty and the freedom that comes with that, as opposed to looking at only the downsides and being driven by that fear.